Hi, I'm Kyle Dwyer with Asset Hero Property Management. One thing you need to consider if you own a rental property that everyone has to consider is, are you going to self-manage your property or are you going to hire a professional property manager to do it for you? It's a fair question to ask yourself, so here are 4 questions to ask if you decide whether or not if you want to self-manage or hire a professional property management company. Number 1, do you have the time? We're all busy, and if you're working a full-time job and you have a busy lifestyle, you're also wanting to self-manage a property, you need to think very hard about that. When you're advertising the property and a prospect calls and it's interested in it, and you're at your job and you can't pick up the phone immediately and give that potential client information of the property, it's going to impact you negatively. You need to be able to respond quickly to applicants as they come in and to your current tenants once they're in place. But time is a huge part of why people typically will hire a property management company, because sometimes it can be easy, but sometimes it does take a lot of time. Because when that 3 a.m. call comes in and the hot water heater just blew up, because for some reason hot water heaters only go out between the hours of 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. on weekends. Other than that, they work perfectly fine. At least that's what we find. But what are you going to take that call? Are you going to keep your phone by the bed? If so, do it, but think about the time aspect. Number 2, do I know the law? This is a big deal nowadays when it comes to property management. Think of fair housing. Do you know how many protected classes there are? Do you know what those classes are? Do you know that Texas has specific additional protected classes of individuals beyond federal guidelines? Did you know that Bryan College Station has additional classes of protected people? You know, you need to know these things, and not only what they are, but specifically how to navigate that. So what are you going to do if a prospect calls or a tenant calls and says, can I bring in a service animal? If your answer is wrong in that one question, you just found yourself potentially in a HUD violation. There will be an investigation, and you don't want to mess with HUD as their penalties are very, very steep. So you need to be cautious with that. What about security deposit returns? Do you know how long you have legally to return a security deposit to your tenant in the state of Texas? The law has a very set, clear time, and which is 30 days. But what happens if you miss that? What happens if you hit that day 31? Guess what? You just lost your rights to retain any of that security deposit. And by the way, you're also going to be liable to return 3 times the amount of security deposit that you're holding because you missed it by a day. You don't want to mess with this stuff. Did you know that you have to have smoke detectors installed in your property? Did you know that it has to be in each bedroom? Did you know that what the penalties are if you don't have that done? You have to know the law if you're going to self-manage. It's key. Now, number 3, do you have a temperament? Do you have the temperament? A lot of folks who hire us have been self-managing for a period of time, and they call me and say, I just can't do this anymore. My tenants are driving me nuts, and I don't have the temperament for it. I get too upset at them, and it's just turning combative. So you need to be able to ensure that you have the proper temperament to deal with your tenants. You've got to be fair, and you've got to be firm, which is hard to do as a landlord. So when you self-manage your own property, because when you want to be the nice guy, and sometimes we find that tenants will push as far as we let them push. So make sure that you're being firm but fair, and don't get emotionally attached to your property. Number 4, do you have the knowledge? You've got to know a lot about this industry. Do you know how you can advertise your property? Do you know what questions you need to ask to pre-qualify the applicant before you even allow them to fill out an application? Sorry about that. How are you going to process that application? How are you just going to look at their credit report? Are you going to do a background check? How about the criminal check? How about a sexual predator check? I mean, how are you going to do that? Where are you going to get your lease agreement? How are you going to explain the lease agreement to the tenant? What are you going to say to them when they call and ask if they can pay late? You've got to have the knowledge on the front end, because you don't want to learn on your own property. You want to hire someone that has learned previously and that you can glean their knowledge. So what it really comes down to, if you want to manage your own property and you need to run it like a business, that may be if you can do that, then you should probably self-manage. If you can't run it like a business and you aren't confident in your own abilities to have the time and to know the law and have the temperament and the knowledge, then you want to seriously consider hiring a property management company. I'm Kyle Dwyer with Asset Hero Property Management. Until next time.